gave the envelope, but.
Jeff already covered the one on our lawn with grass.
Yeah, put them on the line. Goodness, still love that. Stuff.
Yeah.
To help out the little guys.
Absolutely.
Sharks and minnows.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'd
Sharks
like
and
to
minnows.
welcome you to the Pittsfield Town Council meeting Tuesday, September 15th. If we could all please rise for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge of
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
A brief moment of silence, please. Thank you. Next item is adoption of minutes of the regular town council meeting held on September 1st, 2020. Look for a motion.
I move we adopt the minutes of the regularly held meeting on September 1st, 2020 as presented.
Thank you. Thank you, Pete. Councilors, any changes, additions to the minutes? Not hearing any, we will move to vote on that. All those in favor of adopting the minutes as written and submitted, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not hearing any, that will pass. Presentations, congratulations, introductions. Catherine, Community and Economic Development Activities and Events.
Yes, thank you. For community and economic development activities and events, we have a number of items to let you know that we have quite a few projects moving forward here in town. We have Pittsfield Solar One, which is a 4.95 megawatt AC solar PV development taking place on the former Jock LaSalle property. That will be down on South Main Street. That is moving forward. We have FIDC 112 LTD, interesting name, but that is the owner of the Walgreens store, proposed for 420 Somerset Avenue. There's been some rumors that's going forward, not going forward, but as of yesterday, that is going forward, and we have heard nothing to the contrary here officially. Number 3, Somerset Solar LLC. This is again the same type, 4.98 MW AC. That is proposed for 500 Somerset Avenue. That is going forward behind Rite Aid's property where Walgreens is located now. Number 4, Snake Root Solar LLC on the Snake Root Farm Road is a solar array farm that is going forward. Walpole Realty came into the council meeting last night for their 9,000 square foot expansion, one of their first projects, and this is at their warehouse at 202 Industrial Park Street. They are so happy that they will be putting a lot of their materials under in the expansion and have 2 more loading docks, which is going to make moving things around much easier for them. So this is wonderful as they sell off items in other areas and continue their move here. Number 6, Innovative Specialties LLC, which is Nitro Trailers, has applied to the planning board for a 6,000 square foot addition. They went through some discussions at not the last meeting, but the meeting before. This will be at 140 Business Court. And they have started that process and will be back. Their engineer is working on that. They're going to need more after their expansion, but that's the first of the next phase of their project. And then last, we have the town's phased-in airport hangar project. So this is going exceptionally well. The town has about $450,000 of approved projects and monies that are owed to the town. So we're working on collecting some of the owed monies. As you know, COVID-19 set back the state and federal government from processing items for a number of months. So we're working on getting our monies here. And of course, we know that we're so proud of the Puritan project and Puritan 2 project at the SAS facility, which is a secret. We're not supposed to talk about that. But I think everybody knows by now because they're seeing all the action going on here. So that is exciting. Certificates for new businesses, activities, and/or projects. We have 2 certificates. for a thank you and a certificate of appreciation for the summer concert series, which was absolutely wonderful. This is a hard thing to do during this period of time and a little bit adventurous, but we have certificates for Dan Lux and Barbara Hanson that are being signed by the Town Council this evening, and they indicate on behalf of our community, the Town of Pittsfield would like to thank Dan Lux, Barbara Hanson, who was Barbara De Niro previously, for their hard work and volunteerism in organizing the wonderful summer concert series. This has been a great addition to our community development efforts for the last few years. The summer concert series was a welcome diversion during such a difficult year, and so we thank them for their efforts. That was hard to get everything all pulled together and organize that. We also have a certificate of welcome for 4887 Nutrition LLC. So this was exciting. On behalf of our community, the Town of Pittsfield extends an official welcome to 487 Nutrition LLC. This is a great addition to the town's economic development efforts. Opening a business is a very large undertaking and requires a great deal of effort, which we know went on because we saw it going on every day. We'd like to recognize Shauna Mellison's efforts and wish her good luck in the future. Shauna originally wanted to bring her business, her new idea and fitness drinks and everything to Pittsfield, but with the listing of the available properties at that time, nothing worked. So she went on and established a business location in Newport and then one in Dexter, and then a location opened up that she really liked, which was the former Bangor Savings Bank location, and an arrangement was able to be made this time. She had contacted them previously, and it was hard at that time to make arrangements for properties at the plaza, and so they were able to make arrangements, so this is great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Catherine. Public hearings, old business, there is none. Reports, council committees, finance report.
So we have a finance committee meeting next week, the 22nd, and we've just updated the time to 4 o'clock instead of being 6:30. So we look forward to seeing anybody there. We'll just be discussing the budget requests coming from the different departments for this year's town budget.
Okay. Thank you. Ordinance committee, we had a meeting last week, and I apologize, I forgot my notes, so I'm gonna kind of just do a brief overview of our agenda. We talked about some old business, which are items that have been kind of floating around. This is the first ordinance committee we've had, I think, since February. Mm-hmm. So we're just kind of reorganizing things. The municipal ban on pesticides application is something that we're going to kind of just let lie until the Parks and Rec department, the new rec committee, can kind of get their feet underneath them. We think that they're busy with budget items right now, so we're not going to take that up until probably next year. We talked about Article 7 as far as dogs and horses, and made some language changes on that, and I believe there was going to be some follow-up. Catherine, we were going to have legal look at it, or?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And then we took a first view of the sewer use ordinance. Basically the entire ordinance is going to be looked at, and we're going to try and simplify it and then make changes where it makes sense to do that. Oliver Associates is also going to be working with us on that, as well as the department head and employees. On hold or at the planning board are zoning ordinance issues for tiny houses, temporary signs, road system adequacy, and interim sludge management items. So those are being dealt with by the planning board. And then other items that we looked at was the waterworks. We looked at the first version of the Pittsfield water ordinance that was brought to us, that we'll continue working on that. There's going to be more input for that as well. And we set our next meeting date, which I do not remember when. Do you know when that is right off the top of your head? Anybody?
It's going to be based upon information coming back.
Okay, we're going to wait for information.
Yes.
And we'll schedule that.
Yes, because all of our associates need to look at the questions that we had on the water terms and conditions, which is like a water ordinance. and the sewer use ordinance that I drafted was from looking at many other towns, and so now we need a professional engineering company to look it over. So we'll need time on those items. I said that I would redraft the animal ordinance, and so that's in progress here. So once we get information back from Oliver Associates, we'll proceed forward.
Okay. So we'll announce that when we have another meeting. Recycling committee,
Recycling committee will be meeting tomorrow night at 5 p.m.
so you have a meeting coming up. Are you meeting in here?
Yes.
Okay. Board and committee updates by town councilors and town manager. I don't know if any of the town councilors have, so Catherine.
I have one, but we also have members of the recreation committee and advocates of recreation here.
Okay, so this is where you want to.
Because of the concern or questions that people had over how will recreation proceed with football given the the Principals Association decision. And so we have Ben Hall here, chair of the board, and he brought Woody, who is the coach that is put together the plan for football. So we thought that it'd be good to have an update.
Okay.
So anytime or anyone else that you want to talk, that's fine.
Who wants to start?
You know, start that, I don't know, just that.
Yeah, so we were informed there were some concerns moving forward with football after the Principals Association made their ruling at the high school level. And we got together and talked, right? We obviously we're here because we'd like to proceed as we had planned. We think we have a good program in place to keep the kids and the families safe, to recognize some of the CDC guidelines with proceeding with sports, and we can do it in a safe manner. And we do think there's evidence to support continuing with football. We were disappointed at the high school level that football wasn't allowed to go forward, especially after the MPA voted unanimously to go forward with it, which was a group we felt were qualified to make that decision. That it was overruled and kind of went through Principal Association.
What is the other group that you're mentioning?
I said the MPA.
There was two groups with the MPA. One was
Right.
the medical
medical
committee voted 12-0 unanimously, and then the MPA voted unanimously and passed that on to the HHS, DOE, and all the other state agencies.
Right. So we had a group of diverse medical professionals who felt it safe to proceed with football, like other sports, and went through 2 rounds of approvals before it was finally rejected. So anyway, we put together what we think is a good plan. I don't think we're the only community in this situation. I don't think we're the only community opposing proceeding with tackle football at the youth level. And Woody's got a plan. Do you want to present the plan?
Sure.
Would you like to present the plan, or have you read enough to just ask questions? Or?
I'd like to have you present it if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
So
Because
yeah.
I'm just going to be honest with you, I haven't followed it as closely as some people have. So the devils is always in the details, so I would
Absolutely.
appreciate that.
Tim, you do have a copy?
I know, but I mean,
Okay. No,
for
didn't know
the
if
public
you-
record, I'd like to be able to,
Yes.
yeah.
So I'll give you just a little bit of history on the why of this sheet. And this sheet didn't come because of any concerns about what had happened at the high school level. This sheet came because myself and Alex Bertrand, who coaches the older version of the youth program, the 5th and 6th, and I and his dad, who Coach Bertrand, Tom, at the high school level, sat down and we were like, there's so many different rules. There's school rules in terms of which phase you're in, as to what you can do, how much contact you can have, and the school progressed without incident throughout the entire summer. And you've probably heard through social media that they basically did everything that they were asked, in hopes that the decision obviously would be to play. That said, then when the MPA and the state agencies decided that football was not going to be included in the fall sports for high school, there was some concern as to whether or not communities would be going rogue a little bit to have their own programs. So the community guidelines were established, and those community guidelines are also are coded. So you have different risk levels, and different sports are associated with different risks. So we were really confused as to what we should hang our hat on in terms of being safe and making sure we're doing all the things we're supposed to be doing. First and foremost, to keep the kids safe, and second of all, to make sure the town's protected, we're protected, and you know, we're not all over the news like everybody else. So that was before any of this decision, you know, or questions were raised about whether or not we should have it. So we started creating this, and then when Susie mentioned that there were concerns about the high school level, obviously I expedited the finishing of this document just to hopefully shed some light on what we're doing safety-wise. And just to kind of reiterate what Ben was saying about the unanimous piece, not only was it unanimous, but if you think back to the spring when all spring sports were canceled, the MPA made that final decision, and obviously baseball and softball were included in that. We proved that in the town we can successfully manage with some safe protocols our own in-house Little League program, and I thought that went off without a hitch. So just an example there. So this is to really do the exact same thing. It's to follow the community guidelines that were established, maybe take it even a little bit further in terms of managing some social distancing things within practice, and then making sure there's all the things we know we need to do sanitizing wise for the equipment, sanitizing with hands, and then making sure we do temperature checks for the kids upon arrival. So going down through the list, I'm not going to read it all to you, but our plan was to make sure that everyone that plays has signed the waiver. That was first and foremost before they practice and play. Secondly, we wanted to make sure that anybody that was outside of the district, even if they'd played with us in the past, knew that they weren't going to be eligible this year unless they resided in Pittsfield, or if they were had superintendent's agreements to be homeschooled in this district. And then the youth football programs, which include flag, 3rd and 4th grade and 5th and 6th grade, wouldn't go outside and play any other towns, even if the community guidelines went from level 3 to level 4, which say you can play other towns, if there was any outbreaks in those communities. That's an obvious one. And then this is where the change came in on your piece. The second bullet was part of that other one and just didn't make sense there. When the state does declare that tackle football will go to level 4, we'll consider playing other towns, but not every other town. For us, it would be maybe 2 others. So when you read through this, right now we have a plan to have 1 cohort, and that cohort is Athens, and Athens is not going to play any other towns other than us until level 4 happens as well, and then we'll make that decision from there. That's going down a little bit further there in the next bullet. Each head coach of each program will do the thermometer checks. We have 1 for each program, so that's not an issue, and the unit is very simple to use and administer, and it's been seamless so far. And then all kids, all coaches, anybody that is having any contact with the actual practices sanitizes before, and then as many times as we can in between, especially the kids, because the handling of their mouthpieces is probably the most obvious reason. Water bottles were out to practice by the player, not provided by us at all, and we put their names on it, make sure they're using the right one. Games and practices are down at Manson Park, solely for the reason that the school has obviously been told that there's no tackle football there, so we have come here. Coaches encourage parents and fans to socially distance at practice and games. Obviously we haven't got there yet, but practices, we've been trying to encourage that. And it's a little bit trial and error because we're not quite sure what that looks like with the actual sport. So we're using cones to designate areas for kids to try to get that feel. And we can certainly get better with that as we go, because the kids understand it. Face coverings have been worn by me in the last practice. I haven't told all the coaches to do that, but they should have them, just so when there's times where we can't socially distance and you're talking to a kid, you can put your mask up and have a conversation. So that will be a next step. And then the transportation that you read here, that all comes directly from the DECD guidelines for communities. So encouraging, because we're not going to take buses, it's driving to Athens when we play. So encouraging them not to carpool, unless those people have been living in the same household. And then if they do have to carpool, making arrangements to have masks and ventilation and all those things that are necessary when that happens. Continuing on, informing parents and spectators when they come to our field as to how we're going to make that a safe environment for not just the players but the spectators, and just announcing that on the website to the other coaches and their teams when they come to our place. And then talking about the social distancing piece, you can read down through those bullets, just making sure there's some system in place for having all that. Obviously families will sit together, just making sure there's not family upon family sitting right hip to hip will be part of it. And then, as I talked about with practices, managing that to make sure that whenever we bring them back into a group, there's the kids know how do we space. It's not one big group. And then discouraging the unnecessary contact that we've all kind of just by habit have come to do in those sporting arenas. And not that we're going to have any discipline or anything for that, but just discouraging it as much as possible, finding other ways to be fun with it. I think that gets myself and the other coaches, and Susie obviously signs off on this, and as did Ben. So we really wanted to bring it here tonight so that you guys all knew that we were serious about it. We're strictly adhering to it. We can get better at it, and we plan to get better at it. And we feel that with the things that are outlined here and the people that we have involved and really care about kids in this community, we can effectively have football in this town and allow the kids to do something they love to do. Questions?
On the mouth guards, what do they do for a protocol for that?
So the mouth guards, right now, I've told the kids that I want them all to be attached. Because if they're not attached, that means you touch it a lot. I mean, obviously you have to grab it to put it in your mouth, but holding it, dropping it, picking it up. I mean, this not just for the obvious reasons, but for just sanitary reasons in general. But so making sure if you do contact it, you hand sanitize them before you touch the next thing.
And a good chunk of the kids will wear the newer style, binky style, if you will, mouth guards that covers the mouth completely. And inadvertently, that tends to actually stop a lot any of the spitting, and you're grabbing on the opposite side of that, where traditionally you're grabbing right under the mouth guard out of your mouth in other sports.
Is there any ideas for sanitizing them? Something that you provided
for the actual.
Yeah, for the actual mouth guard. I know some other towns have been doing that.
Yeah, I haven't heard of anything. I'd be open to hearing about it.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding, I just heard.
Yeah, then sanitizing my hands frequently between touching your own.
Yeah.
They're all taking it home with them because it's on their helmet attached to
Yeah,
it, so
yeah.
it's going home with them.
No, I just meant why they're there, because of course, usually kids, like he said, they got it in their hands.
Yeah.
My son chews on his.
Thank you.
What about the size of the gathering? As I understand the CDC's 100 people to a gathering, and that includes players, coaches, spectators. Who's going to monitor that?
That's a good question.
That was one of my questions.
Yeah,
Do you know how many
I'm just
players are
speaking
gonna
from
be
the back.
there? You're talking about having
Yeah.
spectators, but I mean, even for high school sports.
Sure.
If my son had decided he was going to play soccer, which with everything he's decided not to this year, I wouldn't have been able to watch a game, because if field hockey's playing at the same time as soccer,
Yeah,
no
right.
spectators are allowed.
So I thought about that, and obviously we want to follow the rules, and I think the latest precedent is the school is telling their high school programs that are happening that each player is allowed 2 guests to the game, and they're going to a designated marked area that spots around whatever field they use. And then, for example, if a field hockey game is going on when there's a flag football game going on, those are considered separate entities.
Yeah.
So those groups wouldn't overlap. So my hope would be that we've spaced flag football, 3-4 football, and 5-6 football out enough so that those aren't considered one group, right? So that when they come, even though they come and they're getting ready, they're over off to the side, away from us. And then those games are not counted as one event.
Separate gathering.
Separate gathering.
Yeah, I talked to Vernon Williams and I asked him, what do you
Yeah.
consider a gathering?
Right.
And that was this game, you know.
Right.
If you're gonna have, the park is big enough to have 5 gatherings, right?
Right.
But not all in the same spot.
Right.
So it's football separate, then you're gonna play field hockey, they're gonna play soccer, is that all gonna happen in that?
That's a
I
good
mean, it
question.
can be controlled, I mean, we can control it, right? We can say, this way you're gonna play soccer, and this way they're playing football. We gotta, the rec department's gotta be aware of that.
Absolutely.
And the rec director's gotta be aware of it.
That's a great point. Right.
And I think the other thing is the bathrooms. You're gonna need bathrooms, right?
Yep.
That's up to the rec department to monitor the bathrooms.
Yep.
It's a sore subject, because she ain't gonna like it.
So the bathrooms gonna be, are the physical bathrooms there going to be open, or will there need to be some type of porta potty supplied?
What's
Now,
that?
at Manson Park, is the bathrooms there going to be open during these proposed activities?
As far as the park's concerned, we're not opening them, but if the rec department opens them, they gotta monitor it, they gotta keep it clean.
So they're available for their use if they
Oh, yeah,
choose to do that?
they're there, but as far as we're concerned, we don't open them, because we're not monitored.
So I will tell you that if it's available to us, that any home game we have, I will personally make sure that those are opened, cleaned, that there's soap in there, there's plenty of paper towel for every game. I've done that in the past, so we just.
Yeah, but if you've got a soccer game going on,
Right.
and you've got a field hockey game,
Yeah, it's a lot of people in there.
you're gonna be busy with football.
Right.
It needs to be addressed, because it could be the big problem down there, is either that or don't open them at all.
Right.
And that ain't good.
Right.
Not little kids. You know. Adults can go behind a tree or something.
We can post some signage on it too for each game.
Yeah.
Catherine, do we still have the porta potty at Hathorn?
We have those at Hawthorne and.
Could we bring them down to Manson? Then we don't have to worry about the public
We could call
restroom?
the contractor and have 2 new ones brought down.
Because there's no sports going on up there for rec, right? No. So I think we haven't told them we want to end using those yet, right?
No, we haven't, because there's been plenty of people in the park, and people really appreciate having them there. But it's, for one park, it's fine, but I wouldn't put porta potties in 2 parks, so, yeah.
No, I'm just thinking, taking those ones, now that our summer concert series is done, taking those ones and moving them down to accommodate, and then you don't have to worry about the public restroom issue.
Now, in our location,
Isn't there one down with the tennis courts?
What's that?
Never mind, isn't there a porta john down with the tennis courts
No.
already?
I don't know.
That's a little storage shed. It looks like a
My bad.
Don't use that.
No, it's too close.
I think you pile up on that.
so in Hawthorne Park, this has worked out really well. When they first arrived, the first day, somebody thought they had to tip them over. So we got that straightened away, and there's been 0 problems. It's worked out wonderfully. We've gotten lots of compliments from people, because lots of people use the park even when sports activities and summer concert series isn't there. So this has worked out wonderfully for the town, because they can be open all the time. Now down in Manson Park, one of the first things I had to deal with the first day was to deal with the insurance claim with the damage to the bathrooms and stuff that went on. So do we really feel that bringing the porta potties down to Manson Park is gonna work?
We had one there this summer for the baseball league, and it worked fine. They came every week, and I was surprised. I thought they'd be in the river.
Yes, that's what
You know,
happened.
they were tipped over. Years past that has happened, but it went through the whole summer and made out all right.
We'll figure out how to chain them or here.
And this is just sitting there. I mean, you could have done anything to it.
We can anchor
It was fine.
I think you'd need a lock on them and to chain them if you're going
Yeah.
to use porta potties there.
Is the
And
one
we
in
could
Monterey
blow
Park
right
is
the same
not
place as that one, well, you know what, that's a good
No,
spot.
it's been no issue.
That's a good
It's
place,
a
I
little
don't know
more
why I
exposed
went
down
to.
there. So I
If
think
you
the
want
original
to invest.
intent with the ones in Hawthorne Park was to have them supplied during the summer concert series.
Yeah.
Because it was a town-sponsored activity to have them available down there. So the question becomes, because it's become something that people have been accustomed to and are obviously using on a regular basis, do we continue, now that the summer concert series, do we continue providing that in the park? And if we're gonna do it for there, I think we should do it in Manson Park, but it comes with a cost, and how do we pay for that? You know, and do we used some of the bicentennial money because it was sponsoring the concert?
Some of the recreation and some of the
Yeah.
sports programming. So I was going to discontinue these at the end of September, because it starts getting cold and a lot less people go to the parks at that time.
Right.
So we could just have them authorized for Manson Park if everybody wants to share the cost. Or you use the bathrooms. I don't think you can just close
An extra
everything.
month or two for the, out of the rec makes sense to, I mean, we're only talking through October, probably, right?
And there's gonna be a lot less fees. We don't have any official fees because it's kind of just us playing another town. You know, there's not really any additional costs that we typically would have when we run games, so I think it'd be fine.
Yeah, I think those run like $150 a month or something like that, fees.
Yeah. Do you have a number on that? Kathy?
Yeah, it's 210. Cost went up, of course, when COVID-19 hit.
We were actually, honestly, we were lucky to find porta
Yes, we
potties
were.
at
And
the
good
time,
ones,
because
yeah.
they were in really short supply, because suddenly everybody needed them.
Mhm.
So, yeah, we were really lucky to be able
Yeah,
to
this
find
is
one.
the least expensive of all the options for porta potties in the area, and the contractor's done an excellent job.
And they're right here in Pittsfield, which is above.
Pittsfield business.
Um,
So yes, I can shift those over, it's getting colder now. If the park wants them,
Couple more weeks, you'll see less people using them, I guarantee it.
Any other questions, counselors, or concerns about the guidelines or, the plan here?
I just had a couple of quick things, just suggestions. To be quite honest with you, I don't see why this wouldn't work. You guys they've already run a baseball program, and it was very successful, and had no major outbreaks or anything like that. Like I said, I would encourage everybody to talk to each other, and hopefully if this goes through, stuff won't get scheduled over each other like hockey, and that's all going to be talking to people in a timely manner and making sure that have as less as possible down there at the same time. I mean, it's just common sense. I understand why the schools don't want to do it, but if this could be run successfully like the baseball program was this summer, and the rec director's in the middle of it, I don't see any reason why they shouldn't go ahead. That's just my opinion.
Thank you.
Is MCI doing the flag football that's allowed 7-on-7?
They are.
They are?
And they gotta work with the park committee as well. Everybody's gotta talk to each other. Go ahead.
What are you guys planning on doing, since you can't use the school for tackle purposes, what are you planning on doing for goalposts? Because I know Manson doesn't have
So
those.
they built one.
Really?
It's already down there. So Dan.
Look at you guys on top of things.
So Adam Ross and Danny Mack went down and built one, and the company that Adam works for helped fund that. And they went down, they built it, they secured it. I think they talked to you, Paul, right when they were down there. No, oh, they didn't. Oh, they hadn't talked to you?
No.
You gotta go to that next door.
I know what's happening, but.
Thank
Oh,
God.
okay. So the,
Jim's a neighbor, see,
yeah.
Dan is a neighbor, he lets things out now and then.
right. So it's, and that wasn't a huge concern of ours.
The only concern I had was, this is still a fall baseball league,
Right.
is that in the field of play?
That's what
Be
I
a
was
long
wondering
hit.
Not
about.
for most of them.
Be a long hit to get it down.
But we
there.
talked about it's portable, so we can
Yeah,
move it
you
behind
slide
the
it.
shed. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Nobody said anything, so I think it's.
yeah. It's nice.
I think if you take all the precautionary guidelines that's in this, I mean, you can't cover everything, but I think 98% of it's pretty well covered. And like you said, the biggest concern, like Pete had, was the mouth guards, and I can understand that because kids are kids. But it sounds to me like some of the helmets that they're wearing and different things, different gear that they have is different than it used to be, so. And I know you guys are on top of that stuff, so I don't see why it wouldn't work.
Could you include in this to encourage the kids to get those new mouth guards instead of the other ones? I know it may be cost prohibitive for some parents, and that's a different exception, but for the ones that it isn't, that may be, then we don't have them handling the actual spit part of the mouth guard as much. I've watched my son play for so long, and I know what happens with those mouth guards. In soccer, you don't have that kind of mouth guard.
Yeah, we'll just make it happen. We'll just get them for all.
Great, thanks. That was the only thing I would really suggest.
Catherine, so we have somebody on Zoom.
I was gonna ask.
We have Kyle, so I'm gonna unmute him. Well, we clicked it a few times.
Well, while Catherine is trying to unmute that, I did have a couple questions. The Little League that was run this summer, there was no travel permitted in that, and there was no other teams coming in to town to play for the rec programming, right?
Correct.
And was it actual games and scrimmages that were being run, or was it just skills and drills?
It was a full league. We had basically a 3-team in-house schedule that we played.
Okay, so why make the change given different circumstances from like July and August till now, when we have increasing cases in Somerset County, to go ahead and start traveling to other teams and having other teams come here?
Sure. I think from the guideline standpoint, it's basically just allowing, because we're not to level 4 yet, it's just allowing the rules, following the rules that they have already established in terms of being able to have one cohort. Obviously, we don't have enough teams to do like a 3-team. You need a lot more numbers per age group. So looking to another town and having one cohort allows you to have different people each time you play them. So, good question.
I'm unable to unmute him here. Kyle, are you unable to unmute yourself? I can't unmute you from the town's computer. Did you want to speak? Oh, he's able to unmute himself.
I got it.
All right, great. Did you
Okay,
make any comments?
No, I don't actually know that I have what to say, because unfortunately the call kind of came through as just kind of like Charlie Brown style. But I guess my only question in regards to the youth football program is what consensus has been reached. I haven't really been able to hear, and just wanted to know if there were additional concerns, or if it seems like we have a good plan for participation.
It looks like a good.
Hello?
It looks like a good plan, and we're trying to work out the details now. There are a concern that we're going over now about playing other towns or another town.
Yes.
And the Athens cohort?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, so I guess with that, I guess so long as that group would agree to isolate with our town in terms of their participation, then that should be a good working relationship, especially where the communities that kind of intertwine themselves, particularly around youth activities. I think that would be a real positive thing. So to me, the biggest hurdle would just be ensuring that the communications are in place to ensure that. But other than that, if the plan sounds good, and again, I couldn't actually hear anything, then sounds good to me.
Thank you. We can hear you really well.
Oh, that's good.
Kyle said something that just, also plays into it. Do we have any idea how many Athens kids actually already go to school at MCI here in the district. Because it's a naturally intertwined relationship as it is at the high school level. Do we have any idea?
11, 12, something like that.
Yeah. I don't know the total number, but.
So it's not a huge number, but there is a number of folks in that community that are already intertwined in the community, attending high school, participating in activities, exposure with older brothers and sisters and teachers and stuff. So that's why kind of naturally there was a relationship there already, and it made sense. So.
I guess I'll stand by my concerns that I had last time. Was the traveling component is a real stumbling block for me, as well as it's, baseball is not quite as much of a contact sport as football is. You literally have kids piling on top of each other, and they don't have face masks on, and there's a serious lot of contact going on there. And so that would be my biggest stumbling block of having it, and I would just be real cautious about it based on the fact that, it's not being allowed in high school sports. I mean, you have students that are a little bit more responsible as far as being able to take direction and follow those directions. And we're going to throw, 8, 9, 10, 11-year-olds into this and say, here, it's okay for you to do it, but it's not okay for the older kids to do it, that are more experienced and more able to handle those kinds of things. So those would be my concerns. Whether they're shared by others in the council, I don't know. But that would be my serious concerns about it.
If you saw some of it, right, on the inverse of the age thing, there's not the speed and the big hits and the sweat and the spit and stuff like there at the high school level. Most of these kids can barely stand up with pads on. They're falling over and tripping over their shoes and bumping into each other and falling down. I don't think it's quite the violent hits and piles that maybe we're kind of envisioning when we're talking football. But your point's valid.
So can I touch on the concern of COVID amongst the children?
Yes.
Okay. So just one of the differences, between a high school athlete, say, getting COVID and a young child getting COVID is the actual physiology of the disease. So we know that the way that an adult body responds to this disease is very different than that of a child. And we also know that the transition from a child to an adult is incredibly rare. So when we look at it in terms of potential spread, when you look at high school athletes engaging in sport, one of the concerns is that a high school age body, which is an adult body, has the ability to transmit the pathogen from them to adults in the community. Children don't seem to emit a high enough level of viral pathogen to actually infect people. So what happens there is that, one, if it does run through this program, it is likely to stay contained to the children who we know do exceptionally well. And two, if it spreads through the program, it's incredibly unlikely that they can play into the coaching staff and adult community. Now that's not to say that it would happen, but if we are looking at the objective foundation of what we're observing from this disease, that's one of the major differences between a youth program and a high school program.
Thank you. So what would happen if you just did skills? How much would the students lose? Would they be able to advance up next year?
It's not really about advancing it. I mean, the game, when you compare it to other sports, doesn't have enough individual skill component unless you go to something like a 7-on-7. But then you exclude so many kids just based on ability, because it's more of a skill game than it is, a blocking and tackling game. It's completely different, for both the standpoint of coaching it and the standpoint of playing it.
I don't see an issue in it at all. I mean, it makes sense to me. Football's an outside activity, and that's what they say is to do outside things. And we're looking at winter's slowly creeping in here, so our next sport's gonna be what, basketball, and I can't imagine that's gonna fly because everybody's gonna be inside. So this is pretty much one of the last opportunities for kids to be able to play a sport of some sorts, even though it's not what we're used to, obviously. But at least gets people out or kids out and active and moving around a little bit. I think it'd be good for the community.
There's one last thing to consider is that when you look at the history of what we did with baseball after baseball was canceled by the NPA, and you look at the fact that the NPA medical committee and the NPA were both unanimous across the board in their initial pitch to the state, and then you couple that with the fact that in early July, New Hampshire approved all high school sports, including football, for all districts that wanted to participate. Now granted, some districts had the choice and chose not to, but all of them had the opportunity. And then obviously you see it on both Saturdays and Sundays across the board. It's safely being played on a national level. So we have neighbors right next to us that are doing it effectively, and there's also a precedent. Winslow and their cohort is Waterville. They've been playing for, they're going on their third week of that cohort relationship with no incident. So
I'd also assume that parents would, uphold their children's safety so that they could make the decision if they don't want their child traveling to Athens or intermingling with other schools. They could make that choice as well, say, let's play in town, but I don't want you participating in traveling. I'm sure that would be an option with you people that you would be cool with.
If people felt that way, absolutely, yeah.
Allow it up to the individuals if they don't feel comfortable with it. I mean, no big deal.
I actually had two parents that signed up late. One that was probably the most reserved about just playing and having her son play. And I went down through this with her, and she got gear for her son tonight.
So are you prepared to reevaluate the program if schools actually have to go totally online again and not have any in-person classes?
I absolutely. I think if there's any of that, whether it be community or school or however it is, I think it's only smart to do that.
Because we might be having this conversation again in a couple weeks.
Absolutely.
Just based on what happens in the county and in the schools and stuff.
No, I thought we were already doing online courses 2 days a week and then 2 days every
It's a
week.
hybrid model.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if there's an outbreak or something, they will most likely go to all online.
Oh, just
at
all
home again.
straight, yeah.
There's a real possibility of that. Okay, do we need to take a vote on this, Catherine? Or
No,
just
is
discussion?
it the consent, I think you check on the consensus that they're proceeding forward cautiously, it appears.
Everybody good with that?
Yeah.
Okay, and if you could provide us with updates, like in a couple weeks after we get going, let us know how things are going too. Maybe through the regular rec department or the rec program updates or the rec committee updates, and just let us know how things are going and stuff.
Sure. Thank you.
Thanks for coming
Thank you
in.
for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that's not distracting you, the rest of the meetings, right?
You guys don't want to stay for the rest of it? Come on.
I've been here 1 in the morning during these meetings.
Come on, if you wanna know about the
It's not
post-meeting
budget
leases.
time yet.
Oh, God, they don't want to.
Thank you. Thank you. Right.
Good luck.
Catherine, was there anything else we were going to do under committee updates?
Yes, I can give a brief update on the planning board meeting. Some councils in the room were present. Council Billings and I attended the planning board meeting specifically for a meeting prior to the planning board meeting with the chair of the planning board, Royce Bernard. the code enforcement officer was present. We had a very good meeting talking about the background on why the council's request, a letter was provided to the planning board back in July from the discussions of over the last year. And the items that we wanted to do. So we came to some conclusions and suggestions that we were going to make to the planning board. Both of our other new counselors were also present. They've been attending the planning board meetings, Amanda and Pete. So they were present and assisted with this also. We had a really good planning board meeting and talked about some suggestions on implementing the ability to have more growth in the town, because everybody, except for maybe a couple of people, agreed that we needed to grow. I think most people want us to grow, but just not to grow quickly. I think with the economy and with the cost to build houses and everything, it will grow slowly. But in any case, the code officer is going to go through the tax maps and look at the larger parcels, which we can identify on the financial trio system to reduce time that's spent. Locate those properties that do not appear to have encumbrances, such as being in wetlands, being bad soils that aren't good for development, rivers going, streams going through them. These are ones that we can tell from a book that was given to each of the towns in the state of Maine with all the maps in it on our community. So he can go through those. Mark LaGrosse, a new planning board member who previously was on the planning board when I arrived and is a very knowledgeable member, volunteered to be involved with this. He thought this was a really proactive item to identify properties where there could be potential subdivisions or more development of housing. As we know, we have very little new housing. People call for new housing quite a bit. Our housing stock is older. There's very little for sale. We have some houses that are boarded up due to their condition. People just leave them there due to the condition. Some of them aren't able to be rented out. Everything seems to be packed full. We've had people call the office looking for apartments. Every apartment seems to be filled because people have moved in with the Puritan project and with other projects. So this is a project we started last year in anticipation of growth coming. Luckily it is coming to the town for economic development and community development, so we need the housing stock. So we would locate some properties, and then that information would be turned over to the council and the Pittsfield Economic Expansion Corporation to start looking through those properties. In the meantime, they can be calling developers to see if there's any interest, you know, in this area. Some areas, such as outside of Bangor, that the subdivisions just sprung up everywhere. I don't expect that to happen here, but if you can have a couple of nice subdivisions, larger ones, in different areas of the town, that would be really good with new houses. We also talked about how the tiny houses, it would be difficult to put them in different locations in town, and if you had a planned unit development which is already listed in the zoning ordinance, you could do what other towns, what I've had before in other towns is cluster housing. You cluster the houses around in like a circle or a half circle. You have your open space out back. You have one road coming in, dumping off. So there are opportunities for tiny houses too. Excuse me. We also talked about the need to look at the properties around the industrial park, and we went through the history of the industrial park and updated everyone on that, so that was very helpful. In that perhaps there are some properties that, but due to their strategic locations, could become industrial or commercial. Of course, we would talk with property owners, but we need to identify those. And the best people to do this planning to expand out the industrial and commercial and to expand out the residential is the planning board, because that is one of their functions. So we went through this and we had a really good meeting. We made a lot of progress. I was very pleased with it. Amanda had some good comments. Pete was there and supported us. Councilor Billings did a really good job. This is something that she thinks is really important because we don't have new housing here, and people have to fix up the housing that's here, or what's happened is because a few houses have become available, people are moving from one location in town over to the other. There's several of those moves taking place now, and the properties are grabbed up. Once the information went out, and a couple of newspaper articles about how people were moving in from out of state, some properties went on the market and they were swallowed up in a day or 2 days. One didn't even get listed. They already had a buyer. So properties are, valuable now. And so it would help, and it will take a while to get some new housing there. Now, I also indicated I would look at the subdivision ordinance to help out the planning board. They have the subdivision law, which lists 4 pages of requirements, about a whole page. It has nothing to do with this town because it talks about lakes and other requirements, a certain type of clear cutting we don't have here. So there's about 3.5 pages of information on your different categories you need to have, and then it explains just a little bit below each one. So that equates over to our 61-page subdivision ordinance. And so in the subdivision ordinance, it covers these areas and it's very detailed for the protection of the town, so that's fine. But where I see the stumbling block is on the cost is the roads, the water, and the sewer. And so it's not as though the town can pay for these, but the developer also has trouble paying for these. And so you have to have a certain number of houses. So we're going to do some research on this. I said I would go through and mark up the ordinance, but I think just from my review preliminarily, we've covered all the areas. We might have been more detailed in sections than we needed to be, and there's some repetition there, but they just copy the answer from one section to the other on the subdivision ordinance that they use as an application. But the road building, the water, and the sewer, I perceive are these stumbling blocks. That doesn't mean the town should build the road, but there may be in certain areas where you could have the road, due to a certain size, meet other standards, or maybe not be paved if everyone agrees to it in the little subdivision. So there's some options here that may be available that would make it more palatable for somebody to have a subdivision and not have the town get stuck, building the road and straightening it out and paving it and everything. So that was pretty much the meeting. So we got some volunteers, a couple of people on the planning board. Looked like we were going to get another volunteer to help out with the mapping project. And then I said I'd work on the ordinance. But it was an excellent meeting. A lot of progress was made. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, good. That brings us down to town manager report.
Yes, I will be brief. Number one, just to thank everybody for all their help during the civil emergency. People have been very supportive coming in the office. People have been very supportive of each other. That's number one. Number two is the November 2020 election. Due to COVID-19 requirements, the municipal building was set up differently with the flow of the traffic in the back door and going out the front door. There are less polling booths. The flow worked well and was very comfortable for our small primary. For our November election, we'll be utilizing the same format. There are no other buildings in town available for use because they're being used, or they do not have sufficient handicap access for the town to get them certified as polling locations for the state of Maine. So this means that we will be here in the municipal building council chambers for the election. This also means that there will be lines. And because of the way that we're set up, we can't have 2 lines coming into the building or splitting off. Our setup works wonderfully for COVID-19 requirements for regular business here. In fact, you couldn't ask for a better setup. And it works fine if you have a smaller election. It's not going to work for the November election. It's going to be very congested unless we get more people absentee balloting. So in addition to this item, we also have a very large lack of election workers this time, and we have some people that can no longer do this that have been very valuable to the town, and certainly understandable due to medical conditions and worrisome items of seeing 2,000 people in a day, over 2,000.
Catherine, can I interrupt for a minute?
Yes.
How does a person become a polling worker?
They volunteer by talking to the town clerk, and then we do some checking, just minor checking. We ask them some questions. We want to make sure they would be somebody who would be safe here. We don't want to be get into their business, but we do list a few things, you know, just so they know exactly what they'd be getting into.
So basically, if someone's interested in becoming a poll worker, they can talk to Nicole
Yeah,
about
they can talk to the
that.
town clerk, just call.
They have to be a resident though, correct?
Yes, they would have to be a resident. They would have to live here in town, and based upon what activities they're going to do, they may need to be, if they're gonna count the Democrat or Republican or unrolled, can do certain things, but at this point, anyone who's interested should contact Nicole Nicklin, the town clerk, at 487-3136.
Okay, thank you.
We've got signs up everywhere, but we're running into the same problem that every town, city is having, not enough poll workers.
Do they need to be a registered voter?
We can deal with that situation based upon what they do.
Okay.
So it would be good to be a registered voter, but they can do certain things if they're not registered. But nearly everybody is.
And then 18 and older?
Yes, yes. Yeah, so far I haven't seen anybody who's not registered all these years, but that's a good point. And no people under 18. Usually they're in a certain age group. So due to the lack of election workers at this time, our staff upstairs will be working the election unless we have a big inflow of election workers. And that means that the town office will need to be closed to in-person transactions on election day. So we're going to plan on that. We will continue to answer the phones because that's very important. We will process anything over the phone we can, which is many credit card transactions. So we can do vehicle registrations and other transactions, send items to people if they have to have items done that day. We can help them with information, licenses, and everything. So we apologize for this inconvenience, but it's an unusual election, and we've heard that a number of towns will be closing. Some towns close anyway to do the election because it's the staff going in to help out. I think we'll find quite a few this time. But we can do, we'll still be working in the building. We'll be able to do quite a bit over the phone.
Will you be giving them Wednesday off for the number of hours over they have to work?
That's going to work out perfectly. They'll be exhausted and then be off on Wednesday, which it worked perfectly the last time. And it was never planned that way, but it just worked really well. Yeah, so we're going to do an ad for this so everybody understands what's going on, and there'll be a lot of advertising. So we have nomination papers, and this will be the last time that I'll be mentioning this because the due date is 5 p.m. September 21, coming right up next week. We have a District 2 council member for a 3-year term. We have an at-large council member for a 3-year term. We have 3 SAD 53 board members for 3-year terms. Number 4, with our town office reopening, we got back on schedule after the July 14th election so that we are open Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. closed on Wednesdays, except for what will go on during election day in November. Number 5, just to remind everybody of the online services for town business. You can do quite a bit. We're working on the next step of moving more in, and the Recreation Committee is looking at recreation sites and different items that could be put in the budget for next year, or fundraising done so that recreation can be done online. With other services too, so that's underway for a review. Number 6, our new registration list remains online. We sent that out and have that available. People have found that very helpful. Number 7, transfer station new fee system. Things have quieted down for phase 1 of this. So as of today, we've sold 1,133 transfer station stickers, up 33 since the last council meeting. This is the lowest number ever between council meetings.
What was that number again?
Yeah, 1,133. No one would have thought this, because now we've got almost as many transfer station stickers as we have dwelling units. Number 8, transfer station new attendant building. At long last, this is our second time trying to get the CMP permit. We started earlier before COVID-19, and then after COVID-19, we're 5 months in now. And we received written notification last Thursday that CMP will be turning off the 3-phase power to the transfer station this Saturday, September 19th, after the close of business. The building will be moved over, replacing the old dump office. It's estimated by staff that the move of the old building and new building will take approximately an hour. All electrical work that could be completed prior to the move has been completed. We have bought a lot of electrical materials over the last couple of months, while electrician Mark Booth worked on items, and of course it's less expensive if the town uses its discount than if we go through the electrician. So in projects like these, we always buy the stuff ourselves, and that works out really well. Mark will finish up the work that needs to be done this weekend, and after the 3-phase power is turned on, the new facility will be in operation and used on Tuesday, September 22nd. And that little building is quite cute and looks very spacious compared to the other one.
I think we need to have a ribbon cutting ceremony. It's taken so long to get it up
I
and running.
know.
Nice. Be nice and stuff.
Number 9, code enforcement violations. I did want to let you know that our 80K court cases, although they've been done, it's going to be some time before they go to court. Maybe the one that one of the individuals is working on will be finished. And then we won't have to go to court. We'll see. The court has issued an order establishing 5 phases of reopening of the courts. In each phase, there is a list of case types that won't be scheduled until the next phase. It's unfortunate, according to our town attorney, that the land use enforcement cases will not be scheduled or heard until phase 5, which is currently anticipated to start in early November. That date is subject to no new conditions coming up that require additional restrictions. The court's plan is statewide. It's not on a region by region basis. Like, you know, in our area there's been less issues until recently, and other areas have had more. The whole state is set up the same way. And that's due to the fact that judges, attorneys, and witnesses coming from areas outside of the region that may have better numbers than other parts of the state. So they've done this as a statewide plan. And the town attorney notes that they don't know if the current outbreak in York County is going to result in a delay of the phasing plan. So she sent me the whole plan. I haven't read that because this was enough information on that item. KB Con Textile Recycling, our new building has been a little building that we put items in called clothing and shoe box for textile recycling. It's been working out quite well. These will be items that will be reused, recycled, and so this is great for clothing, bedding, towels, bags, purses, shoes, and hats. Everybody is happy the recycling trailer is back here. It filled up quite quickly each day here. And so that's been back since August 24th, and it's absolutely wonderful. And we can hear people recycling at night, and people from other towns have been coming in recycling again. Number 11, sewer and water system works. We continued with a comprehensive review of the Pittsfield Water Works terms and conditions that were revised September 2020 and draft 1 of the sewer ordinance. Ordinance Committee had those presented to them last week, and I'm glad now that others will be presenting them or going over them, because that was a lot of items to mark up and talk about in areas I'm not an expert in, but we did get them done. We're waiting for confirmation on how we will prepare all the information for the water rate study. We've pulled out everything, we have everything, so we're waiting to find out how to prepare the information for all of our associates, and I think they're working. I'm going to be working tonight, and Annalise is working tonight after the meeting. We've got a whole list of things we have to do, and so we will figure this out tonight so that we can get going. And this is to address additional loan opportunities for capital improvements, and partially due to the fact that the water and sewer systems have to have depreciation added to them, which has been an issue because it's not as though we ever overspent the water or sewer budget ever, but once the depreciation on the older system is put in, it makes it look like we have. We have now heard back from the USDA regarding the town council's request to discontinue the $85,000 reserve. However, Annalise from Oliver Associates was talking to some of the staff in the office on another project and mentioned this. And the staff mentioned that perhaps we could reduce that to $30,000. So I said, that's nice, but let's have our request looked at to see, are we able, because we have so much money in there, able to just delete it. And so we know that they're looking at it, so that's good. A little bit different from MDOT that has not been able to respond regarding the request for paving. I have heard that they have no money for shim whatsoever, and they've had to cut all of their shimming projects out of the budget, so it would be unlikely they would come and shim the worst areas of North Main Street and Main Street when they cut out other projects they were going to shim.
Don't we turn in money to the state from when people register vehicles? Isn't there a piece of that goes to the state?
Oh, there's all kinds of things that
Yeah,
go
but
to
you
the
know what's
state.
really great about that? It goes into the general fund.
Well, I was thinking, what if we tell the state, that's fine, we're gonna withhold that check until we see something happen. I bet if we hold that money, they'll change the tune.
See, and that would work good, except the other monies they're giving us are more than those monies. So then they would just probably withhold our state revenue sharing. And then, because we've got, I understand what you're saying, this is totally frustrating.
There's gotta be some way that we can leverage them to being like, we don't ever ask for anything from the state other than grants or whatever, the standard funding, but, I mean, this is like ridiculous, the state of the road.
The condition of the road is so bad, I wonder what will happen this winter, basically. And they know the condition, because they've come over here and looked at things. So,
I'm really concerned about the hill.
I know.
Yes.
Yeah, if
By
they,
Sam
I
Brown.
listed several areas, if they just did 2 areas, there's 2 small areas they could do.
That spot on that hill by Stan Brown, that's gonna wash away.
No, I understand. We'll keep working on that, but I have told unofficially that the shims for other roads will be available. However, you go down at the end of Honeywell and there's shim down there. So this is just some information I got because I sent out a request to MDOT because I hadn't heard anything. I said, well, I have a council meeting tonight, what's going on? And all of a sudden all these emails were flying around here. And to note further, they have been unable to find any materials yet that could be put into the Esplanade besides grass. So they think we have to have it as grass so far. And then if we don't want it as grass, they would take it out, which means that more trees have to be cut. But then they thought, well, maybe that's okay. And then they started talking about the historic commission. And unfortunately, they put in that having the sidewalk was going to cause an issue, and then I told them I would go down in the cellar of the building and get out the plans for Main Street from the early 1990s that has a sidewalk. There's no reason why there should be any problem with our sidewalk with the Historic Commission, because it's been there before. No matter if part of it at the end is underneath the ground, that we dug out pieces and have evidence of testimony from prior public works foreman and myself as to what we saw. But it turns out that it's actually something to do with the trees and how they affect the historic properties. I just see that this is going to be an interesting project. So I'll get more information, but so far, no positive information coming back from MDOT, although they are, as soon as I, nudge them, they all respond, because everybody wants this project over with, including MDOT.
This is just the start of it.
This is the start of it, yeah. I will tell you, I've had Main Street projects before, and as engineers that we've worked with here at the town have worked on, like the Harmon Main Street project, and that was quite an experience for them. That was after I left, and we had the Main Street project in my last community, and that was interesting. But this one might be the most interesting one. It's got so many different issues underneath the road. the road is not exactly in the right location. There may be issues with other infrastructure. It's quite everything's very tight. And it's happening during a time when the money for the state is extremely tight. And then you've got all these other issues going on with projects being cut and everything. Our project still remains in there, and I think it will. It's just that we're gonna have to dedicate more time than we're dedicating now to push this forward. And I haven't wanted to get the committee going because they'll be disappointed, but maybe that's what we need to do. So, we'll think about this in the next 3 weeks. We have 3 weeks before the next regular council meeting, and come back with a plan this has got to move forward here. It's just too stuck. All right, back to sewer and water. We have a hydrant project coming up on North Main Street, scheduled for next Monday, September 21. Letters are going out to the area. We won't be able to detour, so we'll need flankers at 4 locations, so we'll be working on that. Flushing of the hydrants is coming up as soon as our water flow will allow. We have great water flow, but when Hancock Lumber is watering their logs, which they have to do, that's a big drain on the system. And so that's fine, and we have plenty of water during that, but we can't do a flushing drain on it too, because you'd have 2 large drains at the same time. So it appears that Hancock had stopped watering the logs and it got warm, so they had to start it again. They'll be done by October 4th. So on October 5th through October 30th, we'll be flushing the entire system out, starting in a systematic fashion on one side of the town and moving forward. So that will be a big project. All the departments help out. And then next spring, before the flushing, before the watering of the logs starts, we will do this again. And then we'll do this twice a year and try to get all this sediment that's in the system out of it. We're going to have some anyway, but you know, because we missed a flushing, we have more sediment than we need to. Bid specs at Public Works, we'll be working on the airport crack ceiling. I did the manhole cover device replacement for Detroit Avenue, and I've been answering questions on that. Bids are due on Friday. All of our associates have put the bid specs together, and one company has indicated they're bringing in a bid, so hopefully that will happen, and more. Pinto Trailer needs bid specs. I worked on the engineering for the cost estimates for the road projects to assist the staff. We have many engineers interested. However, when the bridge culvert project got thrown in at the last minute there, it's creating some issues. So I'm working on that tonight to figure out what we'll do to make this a fair fair bid process here, so everybody understands what they're bidding on. I might have to take them out, but I'll see if there's another solution here and do an addendum. Back walkway, Public Works is not going to get to that at the speed we're going here because they have so much. I will get some bid specs together and put that on the next agenda, or we'll bid it out.
Didn't we already bid that?
I
Is it
thought
super
that Pike was
expensive?
gonna do that.
Well, somebody has to dig it out and put the gravel down and compact it, and then Pike will pave it. Yeah, they're all set to pave it, but we gotta do the other work first. And if Public Works can't get to it, then we're gonna have to get a little contractor. And so, based upon what the bid specs, what we think the cost is, I might be able to just do this, but if I can't, I'll put it on the next agenda, if we get over an amount. Or it might be that Public Works will be able to come right down and do it at the last minute, so we'll see. But I will get that taken care of, because the way it's heaved up, it's just too difficult to walk over for people, as I know. 15 airport grants. We're starting a scoping meeting for our airport grant for the taxi lane, which is one of the next steps headed toward the airport hangar. So I've got the whole schedule now, which is great, and that means that we'll be able to plan out when we'll have agenda items to approve the bid specs instead of rushing. We'll have an agenda item for the filing of the grant next year. These will all be in February through May, so this will be really good. So we'll start that process now. We have tax acquired property that is out to bid and has a date coming right up on September 25th, Friday, at 11 o'clock a.m. We have 3 parcels, lots of interest. We have had people that have wanted to go in the buildings, and we said, we're sorry, no, they can't, due to the condition, so they should figure out that because we can't let them in due to the condition, that should help them with their bidding process. It's also a liability issue. The 2021 tax bills went out, and we put a notice in with the tax bills that explained out quite a few things, which I think was helpful, because we hit some of the items that people ask about, and items that were good to get information out on the dump stickers. We put in information about the election, and we explained out the tax bills and the areas where there were increases and decreases. Because many bills went down, we haven't received a lot of calls. Because of the homestead exemption, it just made the tax rate look out of control, which isn't good. But we're not at 100% valuation either, which means our tax rate's higher than it really is. But that's something the assessor would have to determine in the future. That's been more difficult to explain out once the homestead exemption changes, and it's changed once before. Everybody gets impacted differently. And last but not least, we started advertising again the mission statement. The pictures have been up for years, but the mission of the town of Pittsfield is to provide a safe, healthy, attractive, and affordable community in which to live, learn, worship, raise children, work, and play. So we sent out the notice to all the town employees. When we do certificates for all the volunteers of the town, we'll provide them with a copy of the mission statement. At the end of the year, when we do Christmas cards or Christmas greetings, we'll provide a copy of the mission statement. And we're working on some bigger displays where we can show it. So our mission statement's been in the comprehensive plan. And so that is the mission of the town of Pittsfield, and that's what all of you and all of the staff work on every day. Thank you.
Catherine, do you have anything new on the theater listing and how that's going? And
Yes, that's been quite interesting. I've been asked for more information and told that the assessment that we provided that had the whole listing of everything that needed to be done is not enough, and they need information from, it's too old. They need information for 2016, 17, 18, 19, and 20, and I've advised of what's been done, and that wasn't enough information. So I plan to call in Peak if I'm unable to get any further on this, because it's taking too long.
so they're looking for more detail on what needs to be in the disclosure document?
Yes, and we already have disclosed everything that we know about.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm meeting with Jamie, hopefully later this week, with the real estate agent. We're gonna go through the building first. We have a couple of things to clean up. The Coca-Cola company hasn't come yet, so we're gonna work on that. That was scheduled a while back. We're gonna go through the building and see if is there anything else, and I don't think we know of anything else. And then we're gonna state that, and then I guess I'll have to write it down, so we can move forward. But the disclosure process has taken a lot longer than it should have. We have a very detailed review of this building, which is not normal for most buildings of this type.
Right.
So I was very happy when we got that assessment, because that is extremely detailed. They went through everything, they crawled through everything. I think that this property is probably not not as attractive as what people might have thought it would have been to market.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm unable to get any further this week, I'm just gonna call in Peak to talk with the real estate agent. There's no other information I can give them.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what the holdup is.
Yeah, because I see there's no for sale sign or anything.
No,
At least put
there's
a
nothing.
for sale sign up there and
Yeah,
say, hey.
no, and I was told we need to put up a perfect item, and, you know, because I've had some suggestions, so, I thought I'll just go down and do it, but, and we may put something up on the marquee when Jamie's there. I can't climb a ladder, but she can, and we've talked about that, so we may just do something on the sides of what we wanted to do. But I was told we have to have the perfect thing there, we have to have all these, like A, displays, but this should not have been this difficult.
Who told you that you had to have that, the real estate
Yeah.
company?
For signage, whether the signage is like an A-frame on the
Yes.
street versus
Yes.
signs. I would think like playbill sides in the windows would be the best.
Yeah, I think, yes, we've set the windows on the display here. But there is a lot of, from the newspaper article, there's been a lot of publicity, that started out as a newspaper article about what has the town council done, and we got it turned into, a talk about why the building had to be sold. So that worked out good. So we have a few people that are interested once we list it, so I'll give those names to the real estate agency.
Don't
So-
we have an ordinance against A-frame things on that walkway?
Yes, that is true.
Okay, I was gonna say, because I don't think we're even allowed to do that.
Well, you park one car there and you wouldn't be able to see it anyway. You know,
Right.
you wouldn't be able to see
It doesn't make any sense.
Think about
But
marquee
definitely
is the
putting it on the
best.
marquee.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, yes, it is. It just can't be lit up, and they wanted it lit up, and I've explained the cost for that.
Yeah.
We're not doing that.
Mm-mm.
No. Yeah, this has been interesting to say the least.
And we weren't lighting the marquee because, there were electrical issues in it.
Correct. The last estimates they got, which we reviewed a while back, was like $24,000.
Let me think about this.
Okay.
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, new business, resolution 20-108.
Resolution 20-108, resolved that the town council authorize the town manager to execute the letter of intent to participate in the one-day household hazardous waste collection event on Saturday, October 3rd, 2020.
I move we adopt resolution 20-108.
Second.
Kind of a housekeeping item, we do it every year.
Yes.
Any questions, counselors?
As I recall, last year we had people like pre-sign up for times. Are we doing the same kind of protocol, especially with COVID? Things scheduling people out and time?
We expect to do the same thing. KV-COG is a bit behind due to staff turnover. I don't have any written information, but I've been guaranteed by the organization that it will be the same thing. So we're running down toward the deadline here, and we've already had people call today asking about it. So we will get the information out just as soon as we hear it. They're also contacting Unity and Palmyra to see if they'd be interested in coming over, but you'd have to be pre-signed, yes.
Any other questions, counselors? Okay, all those in favor of resolution 20-108, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not hearing any, that will pass. We'll move on to resolution 20-109.
Resolution 20-109, resolved that the town council authorize the town manager to accept the proposal of Spectrum Enterprise for an upgrade of internet service at the water sewer garage at a cost of $134.98 per month, with a one-time service fee of $99 for high-speed internet services.
Move we adopt resolution 20-109.
Second?
Discussion? Catherine?
This is to update the internet services at the water sewer garage. At first, last year, we heard it was an emergency, and then it went away when the cost was not what we were told it was. But in talking with several staff members, this is to upgrade the internet so it will go faster for the use of the laptop and the computer. So right now it's a slow process. I don't know why it's so slow, because they do have internet service, but this is supposed to be a lot higher speed that will help them, and since it controls the water services for the town, it was thought it would be good to upgrade.
This seems incredibly expensive to me just for internet
Yeah,
service.
it's pretty
Do
high.
we already have Spectrum out there? Or are you changing providers?
No, Spectrum is out there now. We just have a very inexpensive, old setup, and they've indicated, Michael has indicated it needs to be upgraded. I've had different answers over time, but in talking to Chris and Michael, this is simply to make it faster. No emergency situation or anything.
So what's the current cost now?
The current cost, I think it was the $89.98.
84.99.
$84.98, it would be that cost. Which it was supposed to be the same thing and get upgraded, but that was I think, a misunderstanding between several people.
So we're on $50 a month,
Yes.
600 a year.
Yeah, the paperwork was given to me to sign at the higher cost last year, and I said, no, we have an order in the record from the town council, it was submitted by the staff that said it was this cost, so bring it back to amend it, and I never heard anything, so I kept questioning it.
I mean, I'll vote for this, but I'll tell you, everyone don't wanna get much higher without some justification, cause I think that's a very high-end
I think so
number
too.
for
It is a
an
month,
upgrade, you know what I mean?
it is a month to month, so if we find that it's not needed, we can change it.
I mean, I know it's gonna cost more,
We'll
but,
just have the-
but if they go up to like 170, no, you
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Oh, no.
That's how I
understand.
feel.
Mhm.
So are we tied in that it needs to be Spectrum, or could it be, like, we have a Verizon hotspot that's dedicated to just to, like, one of our computers.
So I think because,
Are we talking about bandwidth here and amount of data that's going in, uploading and downloading? Is that the issue?
I think that may be part of the issue, because the computer that has the water controls on it, it goes slower than it used to go when it was in a different location.
Was it not?
So they're
out of the
trying to
water department
boost.
building?
I think we need to try this, because it's getting frustrating for the plant manager. This is very slow moving. However, it's listed, I didn't sign, I don't have it for, I said, don't get it for a term, just get it month to month, and we'll see how this works. And if this speeds right up, it may be the solution to what's clogging the system here, because it's really slow for them to do all the water controls.
How old is the computer they're working with?
We just got a new computer, and that's not the issue.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, we checked that out first.
So we're slowly diagnosing the problem.
Alright. Yeah, I would like, I mean, I'll vote for this tonight, but I wanna see, like, in 2 months' time, before we get to the budget for the sewer and water for next year, like, how is it working, and has it made a difference?
Yeah, no, that's
Do
fine.
you foresee any more need for extra data or anything like that in order to make it more effective for them?
No, that's fine, because, this is expensive.
Any other discussion, counselors? Alright, not hearing any, let's vote ordinance 20-109. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not hearing any, that will pass. Resolution 20-110.
Resolution 20-110, resolved that the town council authorize the town manager to execute the annual hardware maintenance program for Molio System, formerly the Hershey Automatic Meter Readers, AMR, for the EZ Reader System Street Machine Receiver for reading meters for water and sewer billings on a yearly basis.
Move we adopt resolution 20-110.
1 second.
Thank you. Discussion?
This is the only vendor for, that product.
Well, I've breezing through this, and page 2, it has fees and payments, and it goes through a list of fees and refers you to Appendix D, but when you go to Appendix D, there's nothing there.
Yeah, that's correct, it's not there. Yep, we called them for it. The cost goes up every year. This started out when we had Hershey, was wonderful. When Moeller took it over, there was a huge jump, which often happens with companies. But you're correct, we have asked for that.
Do we have a time that we need, does it make a difference on that fee schedule, Pete?
No, we won't sign it till we get, we won't sign it till we get the fees.
Okay, so this is just authorization to do it, but you'll preview it.
Correct. No, I don't sign anything unless I have all of it. But this will stop it from getting held out.
What's the increase over 2019? Do we have a number from, it says it's an increase and is now Like, do we know how much it increased from last
It
year?
was over $200.
$200. So it's like 10%, a little over 10%.
Yes, exactly. It's been 9 to 11% after its major jump. Unfortunately, again, this is the only vendor we can have for this.
Well, that kind of narrows our choices. Any other questions, counselors?
I really hate that that happens.
Yeah, I do too.
Oh,
I do
You're
too,
just
because
boxed into a corner.
That whole, you
Yeah,
have
you
one
are.
choice and this is what you pay.
I mean, you gotta have accurate meter reading, and if you're looking at at any kind of a water or sewer increase, you're gonna have to have that.
And we've got the new, easy reader, so we wanna make sure, you know, the warrant, it'll go good for 10 years, so we wanna make sure that got the maintenance on it and the guarantees and everything.
They keep going up, they better hope that they're the only one, because as soon as the second or third one comes open, they're gonna have, they're gonna lose some people.
Well, all in all, $1,700 in order to operate our water sewer system, or our water system is not, it's not gonna break the bank. Obviously, we don't wanna see increasing costs, but in light of other costs, it's a minimal cost for the department.
No, you're absolutely right, I don't like these companies having a monopoly and having people, having these, municipalities over a barrel.
Yeah.
I don't like that, I think they need some competition, that's not ours to decide, so.
My guess is it's not a really big market out there for water meter readers.
No, there isn't.
Any other discussion, counselors, about the water reader system? Not hearing any. We'll vote on resolution 20-110. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that will pass. Resolution 20-111.
Resolution 20-111, resolved that the town council authorize the town manager to execute an 18-month extension of the current postage meter lease with Quadrant in an amount to not exceed $1,621.68 for 2021 and $810.84 for the first 6 months in 2020, a cost of $135.14 per month for the period of time.
Move we adopt resolution 20-111.
Second?
Thank you. Questions, counselors?
Fortunately, we were able to negotiate this so that it's the same, basically. Tiny cost less.
Well, that's my miracle to get something to stay the same.
It is. Well, they at first said it had to go higher and we were having to upgrade, and we said no money, and then we got the good price. We don't need to upgrade, it works really good.
Too bad we couldn't have done it for another 2 years and then we'd be locked in.
Any other discussion, counselors, on the meter reader? Mail meter.
I just have one question.
Yep.
Where it is an 18-month extension and not a 2-year extension, when it comes to budget time next year, are we going to, in our budget, double the cost for 2022 that we have for that 18 months when we're budgeting out?
We would likely call the company and try to lock in something so that we'll know. The postage meter companies don't like bids, but if you call them, they'll send you a proposal all the time, and they seem to change the proposals around quite a bit. So I think that we'll be okay on that. We have a number of those that you just don't know we have them, but we have a number that are of contracts and leases that are split.
Okay.
Any other questions, council? Okay, let's vote on resolution 20-111. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not hearing any, that will pass. Discussion items.
All right, for discussion items, you got your department reports, and those are all self-explanatory. And then the second part, which I'll briefly mention, are the financial reports as of August 31st, 2020. And very briefly, I'll note that we are through 66.7% of the reporting period for expenses and revenues. We have 52.6% of the municipal expenditures expended, we have 47.4% of municipal water and sewer. Municipal water and sewer usually follows the municipal, so that's pretty standard. So we have tightly tried to take care of the expenses as much as we can, because our revenue collection is so low. We did have the sport, which worked out really well, but we have 49.9% collections for municipal, and municipal water and sewer is 47.5%. We did have some large items I subtracted out. Those are the tax commitment postings, so those are not actual revenues. They go into different accounts. So our revenues are still very low. And I did talk to the mayor earlier today, this afternoon, about how it looks to me like we're going to need to have a budget freeze for a while to see how things go. The cash is down, revenues are down, expenses we're trying to keep down. So this would only be on new items. We've done this before and it has worked out okay. At first people don't like it, but they realize that as long as they do their regular items, they're okay. And we do have a lot of special accounts we can use for different projects and items. So I think that this will help where our cash is not where it should be right now, regardless of the tax anticipation note, which went quickly for the school payments.
So we have tax notes where tax bills were sent out. So shortly we should start
We'll start to see more
trickling
money.
in.
Yes. And the assessor got them done as quick as they could. They were, well, everybody, there's no place that you go that you're not behind. So they did the best that they could. We got them out as quick as we could. But when they go out, we usually have a huge inflow. We've had almost, very few phone calls. It's been very quiet. So it is anticipated by most towns and discussions of the Maine Municipal Association and others that taxes will flow in very slowly because people simply do not have the money. So as a cautious effort, we will do a budget freeze. This is to prohibit over expenditures at the end of the year and to prohibit layoffs.
Does this include like overtime and like things like that?
There's not supposed to be any overtime unless we have a police issue or an emergency call out. So yes.
Like equipment or?
Yeah, something breaks like a water sewer plant. Recycling already had their approval. They have to ask for approval for overtime during the summer. They already had their approval for moving the building over the weekend. That was the only way to do that, so that was all approved previously. Yes, absolutely, along with everything else. Going on to the excise tax collections and the state revenue sharing, these are really saving us and working out good. It's all the other accounts that are low, and if you look through the revenues, you'll see that. Excise tax collection, we are $47,293 ahead of 2019 collections. This always depends on when the fleets come in, and so we had a large fleet come in along with collections from several of the months when we didn't have re-registration fees. State revenue sharing comparison report, again, this is an account that's really helping us. We are $87,414 ahead of 2019 collections. So we will watch the cash. I have new spreadsheets all set up to monitor everything, to see how the monies are coming in that need to be used against the budget, and the monies that will be used to pay back the tax anticipation note. So this has only happened once before, and we had a tax anticipation note at that time, and that was many years ago.
Can you remind me what the term for the tax anticipation note is? Like when is it due?
It would be due in October.
This October?
Yes. Mm-hmm. So we have a short period of time to collect up all that money. Okay.
Oh, wow.
All right, very good. I don't have any other reports. I'll be working on a number of projects. We've got grant paperwork due now, which I'll be working on tonight, and we will proceed forward here.
Okay. Counselors, Do we have anybody left in our audience, or did we lose Kyle?
We do not, Kyle left.
Okay. We don't have anybody left in our audience tonight, so we'll go right to counselors. Pete, do you want to start us off, or start us ending?
I don't have anything tonight.
Okay.
No report.
Amanda?
I'd like to start by saying congratulations to the organizers and performance for the summer concert series. It was a fantastic event, just like it is every single year. I'm glad I was able to go to these concerts, and for the ones that I wasn't able to attend, I could hear them from my deck. So I was sitting out doing work, listening to them, and every year it's a wonderful series. So congratulations to them. I'd also like to thank everybody who's no longer here that attended for the meeting for the football program. I am super excited about the transfer station finally getting that building moved. That has been really awful to see that sitting there unused every single week. I'm glad we're finally getting CMP in here to get that fixed and get that working, because that building looks great and they need to get rid of the old one. Also, you mentioned something about sending out Christmas cards and greetings. Do we not send out Hanukkah greetings?
We never have.
Do we just not know anybody who celebrates it, or I was just...
I've sent personal ones, but these are for all the volunteers of the town. I haven't heard that I needed to send any to, except for the ones that I sent personally.
Okay.
Yeah, there could be somebody, but I have never heard that anyone wanted one.
So it's just that you don't know that any of the volunteers are celebrating Hanukkah. They
Correct.
mostly celebrate
Yeah, the
Christmas.
three that I know about, I send those out separately.
Okay. I was just curious. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Tim?
I'd like to thank the people that came in, the rec people that came in. They're working hard to try to keep kids busy. When it comes to football, the developmental stage of it is important to get the basics down for later on if they want to play high school sports. Very busy around town. I mean, traffic has picked up a lot, which is good. I mean, when you get upset and you see these guys flagging and you got paint, you go on the interstate and they're doing different things. You gotta wait, because it's actually good, because that means that despite everything, we're still moving ahead. The Puritan project is right full steam ahead, and I'm glad to see that the trailer, people that make the trailers up here, they want to expand, which is good. I think we will sell the theater. I think it's just you got to work all the bugs out of it, and eventually somebody's going to want to buy that for something. It's too bad about the DOT. I mean, I know it probably won't do any good. I wonder if maybe, I don't know if Scott or the legislators can put a bug in a few people's ears down there to get them going on that. I know money is tight, I've heard. I don't know, you can't believe everything you hear. And I could be completely wrong on this, but I was thinking the state may have almost $1 billion worth of budget shortfall. So they're going to really have to look at either raising taxes, reducing services, or both, the furlough days for state employees. But that's a lot of money. And I think that's probably got something to do with the fact that's why everything's kind of slowing down, because there is a budget shortfall. I don't know if it's as big as they say it is, because you get numbers they throw all over the board on TV. But
I know, it can change a lot.
It can change a lot, but I bet 500 million wouldn't be that
We
far
have
off.
less revenue coming in to the state from the summer and the whole year.
So anyway, I would be remiss if I didn't say this. Unfortunately, Deanna Tilton passed away last week, and I've known her my whole entire life. I grew up with her kids. I went to school with every one of them. Lloyd's a couple of years older than I am, and she was big in the community as well. She was the one that basically ran the reuse center, and my condolences go out to her and her family. And that's definitely going to have an impact on what we do. But that's not the issue. The issue is that she, like I said, I've known her my whole life. My mother and her were friends. My parents used to go and visit her and Billy when they lived over here on Grove Hill. And she's going to be missed because she was a very active community member.
We will really miss Dina. We loved it when she came in the office.
Yeah. So anyway, we will move ahead tomorrow night, we'll see what we can do, and, I'm cautiously optimistic. I think that, call me an optimistic silly goose if you want to, but I think things are going to get better. And I think we are going to get to the end of this COVID. I do think we got another winter, at least part of winter and maybe in the spring, but I think that in time we'll get to some semblance of normalcy again. I mean, it's going to change. Business isn't going to run the way it used to. Stores aren't going to operate the way they used to. The takeout business has gone right through the roof, and that's going to continue. And I mean, good. I mean, if that's how you can move your product, and people are comfortable with that, good. You know, but elections coming up. I am sure that between the staff and everything, that it'll get done. And I'm glad that they'll be able to take Wednesday off because they'll need it. Catch up, because you know, and. It'll go through. There'll be some glitches, but it'll go through, and it'll be over before we know it. So then maybe we can watch something besides attack ads on television. That'd be awful nice, wouldn't it? Been watching them since February, so you know.
Sickening.
Yes, it is. So anyway, that's all I've got. That's all I've got, Mayor Donahue. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Matt?
I just want to mention about the Main Street lights. I noticed that it's getting dark obviously sooner, so maybe it's been out for a while, but I read in Steve's report that something about the control box or something needs to be replaced for the lighting to work again?
The lighting does work, but it's gone out twice now. They've gone down and worked on it, and it's come back on, but that's one of his projects to do. Yeah.
Okay, I know.
Yeah, the electrician was there. It's very dark. It affects the 4 lights here in the town office municipal parking lot, and it affects the little street lights that are on Main Street and 2 that are on Honeywell. There's one that's blown out that they can't fix, so there's another one that, you know, it's just not going to work. And of course, you remember, if the Main Street project had gone forward as originally planned, then this was all part of it with the sidewalks and everything. Right. And it just, the whole setup may not make it until the project. And so Steve has noted that the control panel needs to be done, and so he needs to work on that.
Yeah, I understand everybody's like really busy,
Yeah.
but where it's getting dark, we're gonna get more complaints and more
Yeah.
attention about that, so I just wanted to.
Now, it was working last night because it was, of the 5 days, it didn't work, and then it worked for 3, and then it didn't work, and so they've worked on it a couple of times now. So we'll see what this brings forward here.
Okay. I guess that's all I have to say. I don't want to bring down the meeting anymore. Any negative stuff.
Well, those lights have been an item for many years. The only way we're able to really afford fixing them, you know, overall, is the fact we got the massive grant, which is going to move forward shortly so we can keep it.
Yeah. Well, that's another concern, that if they keep dragging it out.
I know.
The state give it, then the state take it away.
Yeah.
Hopefully not. So, thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
I'll just start off by saying thank you for Catherine for doing the certificates of appreciation for the summer concert series. It's definitely something well received, and I think this year more than any other year, it's been something people really look forward to and enjoyed. So thank you to Jan and Barb and any other committee members that helped them with that. A lot of hours go into that, especially with all the extra planning this year.
Heather, there were actually people who called the office, and we gave them Jan and Barbara's numbers, who said this is the only thing they've been able to go to, you know.
Yeah, because it was outside,
Yeah.
and everything else got canceled. No straight fairs, no, you know, no other stuff to do, so. I know it was much appreciated, and I heard a lot about it. Welcome to new business, 487 Nutrition. I know the 386 Nutrition that she had at the Newport was incredibly popular with people, and so we wish her well in establishing one down here in town. I'm so excited to hear that the building is moving at the recycling station. They should be able to just take that old one and just kind of tip it into the dumpster behind.
They may pick that up and may crumble right thick.
They probably would.
Dust.
So I'm grateful that that's going forward, not only because it'll be a little bit safer for the employees, but also it will give them a nice clean space to be. I know that was a huge concern as we were talking about doing this, and it's been a a project that, has been working through in fits and starts, and it's nice to see some of these projects kind of like coming to completion. As far as the football and the rec programming, as always, thank you to all the volunteers. The program doesn't run without volunteers, and committee members willing to work on the committee work and stuff like that. So I appreciate all the work that they've done on that. That being said, I really still have serious reservations about contact sports right now. It just gives me the willies thinking about it. But I hope it goes off without a hitch, and I hope that it's a huge success, and I hope that they can, play hockey outside, this winter. Maybe we get a hockey team instead of a baseball team this winter. I don't know, flood the park. It floods anyway because it's all icy, so flood it and have a big, expand our ice skating rink and make real use of our park this year. I think people are going to need that outlet. Thank you for the update on the theater. I really think we need to get that moving along, and get the paper signed so we can start doing those showings. It's really important to try and get that done as soon as possible, and work through all the questions and things that need to be done on the realtor side of things.
So I told the realtor, if this can't move along more quickly, maybe the town just is gonna have to do this themselves, and so I think that we'll see things moving.
Well, I think that, I don't see that as an option just because you don't have time to be doing this.
No, we would get somebody else.
Yeah, you don't have time to be doing this, and I think anybody else is gonna have the same questions. They wanna make sure that they're representing our property, as to what it is and not what somebody might think it might be. And so, I don't blame them for wanting to know all the questions and everything. It's just a matter of getting them information in the format that they need, I think might be the issue. And if he can come in the meeting, go in through the building with you, and Jamie, and have those questions answered firsthand, then maybe that'll kind of like spur things along.
So they've already been through the building and they've already answered questions. So we'll do this again, but the assessment is very accurate on what needs to be done with the building.
At some time, I've bought property before and it's like, no further information, do not know, and that's what you get sometimes as a buyer is do not know or we're not sure. And for some things, it might have to be that, it might be that this is the assessment that we had, this is the date on it, we have not had another one done, but this is the condition, 8 years ago, 10 years ago when it was done. It certainly hasn't improved since that time. 2015,
and we were very fortunate to be able to afford such a comprehensive assessment.
Yeah.
So this will get wrapped up one way or another shortly.
Okay, well, I'm looking forward to seeing a listing. Any other items, Counselor?
I wanted to know, we've seen representatives from both Vittles and Quam Lee, and they'll be open shortly.
Yeah.
Yes, I heard about Vittles. That was the other thing I was going to say. It'd be nice to see that.
I forgot to mention, I'm very glad to see that Manson Park is getting utilized. But it's the Cheese Festival, it's the football. There's more activity down there than there has been, and it's drawing. Believe it or not, it's drawing people. People go down there just to go sit down and eat because they have to do takeout. They can't go sit in a restaurant anymore. And people are noticing that park is being utilized, and the more you're down there, the more you realize how big it is and what you can do, and so you get some. I don't know if you realize that, but you're getting some noticeability that we got this park here, and I think that the more they're open to doing different things down there, I think the more it's going to benefit us as a town.
Other events and things. I remember the first time I saw the park fully utilized. I'd just been here a while, and they had all the games, and I was going for my regular walk, and I saw there were 7 games set up with school buses from 7 areas, and I came back to the office thinking, part-time recreation, only volunteers, At that time, we didn't have a rec director. I'm like, liability, So we did get a rec director throughout the year after that.
It's just nice. It's people notice it, and I've had some comments that, geez, you guys got a real nice park down there. And I think, like you said, if the Cheese Festival comes off without a hitch, and they have it down there, I know they love the park down there.
They did. Everybody I talked to just loved the park. They couldn't believe that it was just this hidden little thing.
Oh, we're so fortunate.
Yeah. So anyway, that's being noticed. So I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Yeah, definitely. It's nice to see the town assets being appreciated, I think. So, okay. Councilors, I'll look for a motion.
Move we adjourn.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
No nays?
You're adjourned. Thank you.
Do you want these up there, or do you want to leave them on down?
Hey Heather, are you gonna be at the Skowhegan State Fairgrounds this weekend?
Thank you.
No.
Why would I go there?
Because they're doing the,
They're doing an agricultural fair thing
Oh, I know. No, I
with
have.
local artisans and.
I have farmer's market all day Saturday, and then
Thank you for getting that.
Oh, yeah.
it's my dad's 70th birthday
Oh.
on Sunday.
I see.
Yeah. So
I was just wondering if I'd see you over there.